different way. There's been a lot of news recently about the Pinelands, in particular, the governor's appointment of several new commissioners. It's our pleasure to welcome Carleton Montgomery, Executive Director of the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. Carleton has a JD from Harvard. He's a founding board member of the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters and has dedicated his life to environmental protection. Hi, Carleton.
Hello, everyone. I guess I've recently dedicated my life, but I started out working as a lawyer for defense contractors, so I don't know I can take too much of big time credit. I want to talk about the Pinelands Commission, and there's been big changes at the commission, and you've probably seen some of the material in the press about the controversies over the nominations to the commission. So I want to provide a little bit of context and bring everybody up to date on where things stand. Basic context in case people are not aware of the significance of the Pinelands Commission. It's a state agency that is responsible for implementing the Pinelands Protection Act, which governs development over 1.1 million acres of New Jersey, about 22% of the state, and can control, especially in everywhere except the shore area where it shares jurisdiction with DEP. The Pinelands Commission really is deciding where development goes and where it doesn't go, and what kinds of development are permitted in each part of the Pinelands, with the overarching goal of ensuring that human activities in the region are compatible with preserving the region's essential water resources, habitats, plants, and wildlife. It's a big job over a large area, but it is essential to maintaining the character of the Pinelands region and really South Jersey that a lot of us appreciate so much. For about 10 years, the Pinelands Commission was in a funk, to put it nicely. A combination of some people who'd been appointed to the Pinelands Commission, controversies over pipelines that led to a lot of conflict, a management team at the very highest level of the staff at the commission who really had no interest in advancing the mission of the Pinelands from our point of view, at least as we saw it, and prevented progress on numerous fronts in the protection of habitats and water resources. So we came to a point when Governor Murphy was first elected. He made some terrific nominations to the Pinelands Commission, and for the first time in his career, Senator Sweeney decided he was going to get interested in the Pinelands and said no, they would not advance. So he held those nominations for more than 3 years, till the day he was no longer Senate President, when he did allow one of those original nominations to go forward. But we come to the lame duck session. We have a Pinelands Commission that has been really divided and unable to move forward on many topics. The longtime executive director had suddenly passed away. And so the Pinelands Commission had an acting executive director, a longtime staff member, but was going to be doing a search for a new executive director. And from the point of view of environmental advocates like myself, this was a time when the governor really needed to persuade Senator Sweeney, by the ways politicians do these things, to allow his nominations, the two of those nominations who had been approved by their local senators to go forward, to be confirmed. And instead, much to our surprise, he nominated 3 new people, one of whom I believe is on the call. And that was really a shock to us without knowing the individuals personally. It was particularly a shock to see new nominations made without, after 3 years of no movement on 3 people whom we did strongly support. And that's what created the controversy. Now, out of that came, I think, a pretty good outcome as of today. One of the people whom the governor had nominated originally 3 years earlier, Teresa Letman, lifetime Pinelands advocate, longtime employee and colleague, employee of Pinelands Preservation Alliance and colleague of mine who had retired several years ago, was allowed to go forward by Senator Sweeney in the lame duck. And then two of the governor's original three nominees, Devon McCurry, who I think is on the call, and Laura Matos were also confirmed. So that's three new people to fill some of the governor's positions. The governor gets to nominate 7 people, subject to confirmation by the state Senate. Each of the counties also appoints someone. There are 7 counties that have land in the Pinelands, including Burlington, Gloucester, and Camden. And then one person is selected by the U.S. Secretary of the Interior to keep federal partnership in the process. So we got to the point where the governor and Senator Sweeney had worked things out to allow 3 people to go forward with gubernatorial nominations. Camden County also had to appoint a new person to the Pinelands Commission because its prior representative had resigned just due to his work obligations. And the county has now done that and selected John Holroyd, who is a resident of Winslow, if I recall correctly, but is also a local code official in towns in the Pinelands. So someone with pretty deep knowledge of the nuts and bolts of development in the Pinelands. And finally, the Secretary of the Interior, after a long gap with no federal representative, appointed a fellow named Jonathan Mead, who is an employee of the National Park Service and has a very strong environmental record. So as of the commission's last meeting a week ago, this last Friday, actually, the Pinelands Commission had 5 new members out of 15 total. There is still 1 empty seat, gubernatorial seat, and one person I would view as a holdover from Governor Christie's days. When Governor Christie was, the environment was perhaps not a priority for him. This is someone I think has lost interest himself in the Pinelands Commission and should be replaced as well. So we're looking to see the governor make 2 additional nominations and for the Pinelands Commission to complete the process of hiring a new executive director. And then, you know, my hope is that the Pinelands Commission will get back to its founding spirit, which it maintained for the first 30 years of its life, of really doing an incredible job of creative growth management on a very large regional scale that had successfully protected vast forest areas in the Pinelands. And today there's about 800,000 acres of contiguous forest in the Pinelands. That's pretty extraordinary in the state's most heavily developed and most crowded, the country's most heavily developed and most crowded state. So that's where we are today. And we're really looking forward to the new nominees. That's Teresa Letman, Devon McCurry, and Laura Matos from the governor, Jonathan Mead from the U.S. Secretary of the Interior, and John Holroyd from Camden County, getting together with the other commissioners who are still there, and moving forward on some really important sustainability initiatives. I point particularly towards protecting the Kirkwood-Cohansey Aquifer, protecting public lands and private conservation lands from depredations of dumping, illegal off-roading, and collecting of rare species. Trying to make sure that land that is developed is developed efficiently, because we're not making any more land in New Jersey. We're not Hawaii. And so we got to work with what we have. And if we're going to develop an area, if we're going to say an area is for development, or it has historically been developed, then we ought to make good, efficient use of it and be sure that it is consistently successful. I hope people might have some questions if I've covered the key items, Ed, that you were looking for in this update.
Yeah, excellent. That's been excellent. I'd like to do a couple things. One, if you have questions, raise your hand or unmute yourself. Also, since if that Devon is really with us, maybe in like 3 minutes, we'll let you. We'd love to have that if you want to have that opportunity. Carleton, if there aren't any questions, Carleton, I love the Pineland preservations. I like going on their cleanups and their trailblazing stuff. And it's a really, if you want to, if there's no other questions, if you just want to talk about some of the other things the Pinelands have, or, you know, I'm not looking at the chat. So if there's something you can answer those.
Oh, there's got to be questions. Come on, this is an interesting topic. Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, one of the things that I learned over the last, I'm going to say, decade of real frustration with the Pinelands Commission not doing the things it needed to do and doing some pretty bad things along the way was that advocates like my organization and others also needed to spend more time, not just talking at government officials to getting them to do the right thing, but turning around and trying to widen and deepen public support and understanding of these resources. So we put a lot of effort into creating our outfitter, Pinelands Adventures. I hope some people here might have gone canoeing or kayaking with Pinelands Adventures. That is a part of PPA. And our thought was, look, if we can get people out to have fun, they're going to care about this place in a way they won't if they just see a social media post or a news article. And we've been able to, you know, since 2015, take tens of thousands of people on trips. And that includes schools and service organizations to whom we offer trips for free or whatever they can pay within their budgets. That, of course, that part of it came to a stop during the pandemic, and we're rebuilding that process now. So that's, you know, one piece we've done. We also realized that farming is a huge part of our landscape. And so in order to try to walk the walk and talk the talk, we have founded a chemical-free farm at our headquarters in Southampton called Rancocas Creek Farm. And we're hoping to use it as a springboard to promote organic farming, but also farming that is not just commodity farming. So much of the farmland in South Jersey is devoted to soy and commodity corn. And it's very destructive environmentally, of soil, of air quality, of carbon sequestration. And there is such great demand and need for good, high nutrition, chemical-free food. There is no objective reason why more farmland should not be devoted to people's needs rather than producing more high fructose corn syrup. And it's a project.
Thank you, Carleton. That's terrific. I just want to make sure we get time for Vicki has her hand up, and then go if you'd like to ask a question.
Oh, just a quick question, Carleton. We all know there's been so much damage done to the Pinelands by off-road vehicles. But are we beginning to see a positive response to that, some additional protection, either through volunteer activity or maybe through a little bit of enforcement by the state?
Yes, but you know, the wheels of justice grind slowly, and this is one example of that. So, you know, it is a bit of priority of our organization to raise public awareness and try to shift the culture of how people view these vast tracts of pinelands forest, so that they view it as just being just as precious as Yellowstone or the Everglades, a place that you do not expect people to just be able to, you know, tear up without retribution. And I think we've had some success in doing that, but government agencies need to do far more because they are the landowners. You know, the state owns most of the land in question in places like Wharton State Forest and Brendan State Forest and all our wildlife management areas. And there, it astonishes me how slow DEP moves in just enforcing existing law and finding policies to do so. So I think, yes, slowly, but we have not seen decisive action of the kind that we keep expecting to come. And you know, the current commissioner, Sean LaTourette, has said publicly and privately that this is a priority for him. So I'm optimistic that this year we're going to see some pretty dramatic change. I say I'm optimistic, but I am not holding my breath either.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carleton. This was terrific. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and all the work the Pineland Preservation Alliance does.
And thanks for all that you are doing. And I think it's phenomenal that you get such a great turnout to discuss these issues in our counties.